everyone, this episode's going to be on drawing very short portraits, maybe in an hour or so, with Prismacolor colored pencils. So I'm just going to go through a few tips when drawing colored pencils, and you can sort of watch me display these tips in the video. So first off, you want to consider how hard you're pressing with colored pencils, because the harder you press, the more intense the color is going to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a little more difficult to build up layers of color when you press really hard on your paper initially. Another thing to note that I said earlier is about layering colors. The most natural looking colors are going to be the colors that you've layered the most. So as you can see in the neck, the more I build up color and the more color that I layer is going to be the most natural looking part of the skin. I mean, I always like to use very saturated, intense colors just because I think it's prettier. I think it's cooler than to use just skin tones, like natural looking skin tones. I think that you can actually get a lot of skin tone from really bright, kind of obnoxious colors. So yeah, multiple layers are definitely required when drawing portraits like this. The next thing to note would be the direction of the layer that you're using. So if you're layering multiple colors, you want to make sure to change your direction a little bit. Change, like if you want to do side strokes, if you want to do big long strokes, so that you can get sort of a different form of value with that direction and texture. So later on in the video I'll start drawing his eyes and hair, but one of the most important things is to make your own black and make your own white. Don't use true black and true white because they're the strongest colors, and they're so strong that when you use them they will tend to look flat and synthetic. So try to mix, usually with browns and dark blues, or with white you can use very light blues or light pinks. Also, don't immediately go heavy in your application. You want to build up to a heavy application. It's like a painting. It'll emerge after a while. You don't want to commit to something too early. So if you notice with the layering, there's no details right away because your details will always come last. Edges, details, things like that. The overwhelming parts of drawing and portraiture are the very last thing that you should be considering when drawing something, especially highlights. And of course, as always, take your time. So here I haven't drawn in the pupil yet. I'm gonna try to do that last. And then the white of the eye is just a very subtle, like a baby pink. His eyebrows are also a dark brick red maroon color. I've gone ahead and drawn the white in the center of the eye because I was a little impatient, and also because it helps me figure out where I drew wrong, where I can be putting the dark blues. Make sure not to do too harsh of lines. You want them to appear a little more natural, but because we're sketching and because we want that sort of sketching vibe, you can forgive yourself a little bit. I actually sometimes like to leave in a little bit of pencil marking, as you can see, because I think that gives it a certain artistic quality. So drawing the ear, don't be too concerned about what shapes you're actually drawing. Be more concerned about what values you're creating, because as I've said in earlier videos, your brain just fills in what it thinks an ear looks like. So it's not going to matter how perfect you get the shapes and values. So here I left a little space for a hairline, and I didn't put it right up against the ear because his head is tilted, so he'll have a little space in between his chin, ear, and hairline. So he has kind of a funky hair shape, so you know, this type of hair is the hair that I like drawing the most. It's fun, it's just beautiful, and you know, it's leaves a lot for artistic rendering. So I like to start with the darks because I think that with this type of hair, you can sort of find it on your way there. If you started with lights, it's kind of hard to see what the shapes you're drawing are, but if you draw in darks first, you can find valleys and hills, and it's a lot more easy to go from there. So I'm using a really like an indigo dark blue, almost black, and then like a light purple. The paper is actually forest green, so it's a little confusing to the eye, but which is why it may look absolutely black. Another thing to note, a lot of the highlights that I use are actually not white, but like bright pink. They're not a baby pink, but like a very saturated, like berry, like as you can see on the lips, the neck, nose bridge, and the top of the eyebrow. That's not the camera. They're actually like a pastel, really saturated pastel. So in the finished product, of course, I put my exotic paper.